Hello everyone. The spotlight has turned once again towards Kang, but this time, not for his acting or charm. Whirlwind of online discussions. Fans are accusing the rising star of double standards, dissecting every word, gesture, and interaction he's made in recent weeks. Screenshots and video clips have flooded the internet, each one analyzed with microscopic precision. Yet amid the storm, one name keeps surfacing beside his, Yoo Jung. While criticism surrounds his supposed contradictions, fans can't ignore how completely different his demeanor becomes whenever she's near. The distance, the tone, even his guarded posture seem to vanish, replaced by something softer, genuine, and disarmingly real. Some call it proof of hypocrisy. Others see it as something else entirely, perhaps a glimpse behind the walls that fame forces him to build. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the tension between image and authenticity has never been more visible. And as the debate deepens, one question lingers in every fan's mind: is Kang really two-faced? Or is Yoo Jung the one person who makes him show his true self? The internet has never been kind when it senses inconsistency, and this week, its spotlight turned mercilessly towards Kang. The actor once hailed as the nation's son-in-law found himself caught in a storm of criticism after fans began questioning his behavioral double standards, calling him out for showing warmth in one setting and cold detachment in another. At first, it seemed like the usual internet noise, a minor misunderstanding blown out of proportion. But then, one clip changed everything. Video, taken from behind-the-scenes footage of a recent drama event, showed Kang engaging with the cast, polite but distant, professional yet oddly tense. Yet when Yoo Jung entered the frame, everything about him shifted. His voice softened, his eyes brightened, his posture eased. The man who had seemed withdrawn seconds earlier suddenly looked alive. Fans noticed immediately. Within hours, the clip trended across social media under the hashtag Kang double standards, sparking fierce arguments in every comment section. Some accused him of putting on an act, claiming he treats colleagues differently depending on who's watching. Others defended him passionately. What people saw wasn't hypocrisy, but humanity. Maybe Yoo Jung brings out the side of him that's real, one fan tweeted. Everyone acts different around the person they care about. A world where every gesture becomes evidence. Nuance doesn't stand a chance. The backlash began innocently enough, an online thread comparing Kang's recent press interviews. In one, he appeared reserved and serious; in another, cheerful and animated. The user wrote, "Which one is the real Kang?" That simple question spread like wildfire. Soon, fans began digging through old videos, ID shows, and fan meetings. Compilations surfaced, contrasting his stiff demeanor with male co-stars against his effortless charm with female colleagues. The tone quickly turned accusatory. Fake, some declared. Calculated, others added. He only acts kind when it benefits him. But the narrative took a sharp turn when one compilation focused solely on his interactions with Yoo Jung. The two had starred together in a hit fantasy romance series that skyrocketed their popularity, and their chemistry both on-screen and off-screen had been a constant topic of fascination. In the new footage, however, fans noticed something that felt less like performance and more like sincerity. The way he looked at her, the way his usual composure dissolved into nervous smiles. The quiet attentiveness when she spoke. The small gestures of care that seemed unconscious. It didn't look scripted. It looked real. Even those critical of him couldn't deny it. Same people calling him two-faced began to hesitate, caught between cynicism and curiosity. Was it possible that the version of Kang around Yoo Jung was the authentic one? And the rest, the polished interviews, the distant professionalism, merely the mask required by fame? The real uproar began during a promotional fan meeting last month. Cameras captured an unscripted moment when Yoo Jung stumbled slightly on stage. Before anyone else could react, Kang instinctively reached out, steadying her with both hands. It was a split second, gentle, protective, instinctive, but it melted the room. Yoo Jung laughed it off, brushing her hair back. He leaned close and asked quietly, "Are you okay?" The microphones barely caught it, but fans with high-quality recordings amplified the sound. That 3-second clip gained over 10 million views in less than 24 hours. The comments flooded in. "It's not acting. That's instinct. He looks at her like she's the only one there. So where are the double standards now?" As if the world had collectively agreed to rewrite the narrative. Overnight, the tide shifted from condemnation to speculation. Some called it redemption, others, denial. Everyone agreed, something about the way he treated Kim Yoo Jung didn't fit the accusations. Those who have worked with Song Kang described him as quiet, almost shy, despite his confident public persona. The type who speaks less but feels deeply. Stylist revealed anonymously. Around most people, he's cautious. Around her, he's different. Different how? Axes, she said simply. He laughs without realizing it. He asks about everyone's meals. He makes jokes. Yoo Jung's on set, he's lighter. People close to him have hinted at this change before, subtle, undeniable. During interviews, Song Kang often described Kim Yoo Jung as refreshing and comforting. Words that sounded ordinary until one watched his expression when he said them. His usually steady gaze softened. A small smile tugged at his lips like a secret he wasn't supposed to share. Even during group interviews, fans noticed the smallest details, the way he subtly turned his chair toward her. Mirrored her gestures. How his tone unconsciously matched hers. To the cynical eye, these were just coincidences. To those who believed in chemistry that transcends scripts, the truth trying to slip through the cracks of celebrity restraint. By the second week of the controversy, fandom had split in two. On one side were those determined to expose him, the ones claiming that his kindness toward Yoo Jung only proved his inconsistency, that he should treat everyone equally. Other were those defending him fiercely, saying he didn't owe uniform emotions to anyone. Double standards? He's not a robot. One fan commented. People behave differently around those they care for. That's not fake, that's human. Fan-made edits flooded TikTok and YouTube, slow-motion clips of every glance, every smile, every shared laugh between the two stars. Background music turned the moments into confessions. Underneath, captions read like poetry. He only smiles like that when she's there. Some truths don't need words. In those fan edits, the controversy transformed into something else, not scandal, but sentiment. Viewers weren't just watching an argument about image, they were watching the possibility of real emotion breaking through the polished facade of fame. Eventually, the noise became impossible to ignore. Kang's agency released a brief, cautious statement. There has been misunderstanding regarding Song Kang's behavior in recent public appearances. He has always maintained professionalism and respect toward all colleagues. We ask the public to refrain from speculative interpretation of selective moments. It was the usual PR phrasing, safe, forgettable. But fans weren't satisfied. They didn't want a corporate defense. They wanted him. A few days later, Song Kang himself broke his silence through a handwritten note on his official fan cafe. The letter, written in careful penmanship, read. In the comments, the praise, the disappointment. I am human before I am an actor. I have emotions. And sometimes they show more clearly with certain people. Always try to be fair and kind. But please don't mistake sincerity for favoritism. Some moments simply mean more than others. The message didn't extinguish the debate, it deepened it. But for many, it was the first time an actor had addressed such scrutiny with honesty rather than denial. And among the sea of reactions, one comment stood out. Written by a fan who had followed him since his debut. He's not changing because of Kim Yoo Jung. He's just finally letting himself be seen. By then, the story had transcended the usual celebrity gossip cycle. It wasn't about double standards anymore, it had become a reflection of something deeper. Something more intimate. Why do people demand emotional consistency from those whose lives are built on performance? And why does authenticity frighten us more than artifice? As the dust settled, one truth lingered. The world might question his intentions. But those who had seen the way Song Kang looked at Kim Yoo Jung knew the answer didn't need to be spoken. Because sometimes, contradictions aren't hypocrisy, they're proof of feeling. And for Song Kang, those feelings had already become too visible to hide. The noise didn't fade, it only changed its tone. What began as outrage turned into obsession, the kind of fascination that only grows stronger when silence answers every question. Song Kang had spoken once and then disappeared from the spotlight, leaving the public to chase meaning in every breath he took on camera. Each appearance became a puzzle. Every glance toward Kim Yoo Jung a possible confession. They were reunited months later at a charity gala. It was filled with flashes and murmurs. But when the two locked eyes across the hall, everything slowed. He approached her carefully. Not as a headline but as someone who hadn't forgotten. Greeted him with that calm smile, the same one that had disarmed him since their first scene together. Cameras caught only fragments, a handshake that lingered too long. A whisper lost to the noise. The unmistakable ease of people who no longer needed to perform. By midnight the pictures were everywhere. "They're back," fans wrote. "Look at the way he looks at her." For a brief moment the crowd stopped judging and simply watched. Maybe, they thought, double standards were just what happens when a man learns to drop his guard around one person and no one else. Behind the glamour, both of them were tired. Yoo Jung had defended him quietly for months. Using to feed the gossip. "He's kind," she said once in an interview. "But not to please others, it's just who he is." That single sentence softened the storm more than any agency statement ever could. It was simple. But it sounded like truth. Their next project together was unplanned. A surprise cameo that producers swore was coincidence. Yet the chemistry was undeniable. During filming, he seemed freer, she seemed grounded. Between takes. And when the director called cut, no one moved right away. The crew whispered that the air between them felt charged. Almost tender. Later, when the episode aired, viewers flooded the comments with one line repeated over and over, "You can't fake this." Still, they never confirmed anything. Kang learned to live with contradictions, cold professionalism in front of reporters, quiet warmth when the cameras turned away. He understood now that authenticity was a dangerous luxury in his world. But he also knew it was the only part of him that felt real. Around her. He didn't have to hide behind polished answers or rehearsed smiles. Around her. The double standard became the truth. Months passed, the scandal faded into memory. Rumors replaced the old ones. Yet fans never forgot those small, unguarded moments, a touch at a red carpet, a shared laugh in the rain, a silence that said more than words ever could. They called it the Kang paradox, how the same man accused of inconsistency could look most consistent when he was with her. Years later, when both had grown into icons of their generation, an interviewer asked him what he learned from that period. Faintly before answering, "People think being real means being the same with everyone. It doesn't. Sometimes being real means letting one person see the parts you can't show anyone else." That answer ended the debate forever. It wasn't a confession. But it didn't need to be. Because everyone who remembered that first clip, the one where his entire demeanor changed the moment Kim Yoo Jung entered the room, already knew. The truth had been there all along. Hidden not in contradiction, but in the quiet honesty of how he looked at her. Maybe that's how their story should end, not with explanations or apologies, but with understanding. As in acting, he was just finally being seen. Conclusion and thank you note. In the end, the storm around Kang wasn't about hypocrisy, it was about humanity. Fame demands perfection. A heart never obeys. What fans saw as inconsistency was, perhaps, the most consistent truth of all, a man who could only be himself when he stopped pretending to be perfect. Through every accusation, every frame replayed 1,000 times, Kim Yoo Jung remained the calm center of the chaos, the mirror that reflected the version of him the world had forgotten to see. Together, turned controversy into clarity, showing that sincerity still exists even beneath the weight of fame. To everyone who watched, questioned, felt something real in their story, thank you. Thank you for listening beyond the noise. For believing that truth can live quietly in the spaces between words. And for remembering that sometimes, contradiction isn't a flaw. It's proof that we are alive. Thank you for reading, and for seeing the human side behind the spotlight.